Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome into Fresh Takes with Russo and Felice. Paul Russo here, joined as always by Nick Felice. That's the reason why your name's on the play card like that, Nick. So, how you doing this week, Nick? Haven't seen you, I guess, in almost a week. You went out of town, enjoyed yourself this weekend. It was good to see.
Drove through Gannon.
Erie, yes.
The Erie.
Technically, you drove through Kearsarge, but it's okay.
Went to Cleveland. Actually went to Medina, Ohio. It was nice, great time. I got to go to a Guardians game. That stadium's kind of interesting. I went there when I was a kid. I don't really remember it much because it was so long ago. But it's kind of like, gives me a Coliseum type feel to it. It's pretty small, but it's like elevated. So it's like, it's just like a big circle. But I did enjoy it. Rangers blew it. Jose Leclerc. I think that's the name.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the first name. But, he blew it. 2-1. Guardians win.
That'll happen. But, yeah, Progressive Field, one of my favorites. It's up there for me. Not as nice as PNC or Wrigley, but it's up there for me. So, good to see that you liked it. So, obviously, yeah, it's your first time there since they've done a lot of those renovations then and everything like that. Did you I have to ask this. You probably don't even know what it is, I'm going to ask, but that's all right. Did you have a slider dog when you were there?
I saw the slider
Okay.
dog. The one with the Fruit Loops?
Yep.
I did see them. I did not go for them. Just went for the standard hot dog.
Were you tempted to try it?
I was. I was a little bit. I like Fruit Loops. Definitely not in my top 5 cereals. We know that from our very first ever podcast. But, yeah, I did not. I was tempted, but I did not try it. I did see it, though.
Yeah. Well, next time. I have yet to try it, too, and I want to, so next time. All right, before we get any further, jump into our football discussion, I do have to thank our sponsors for today, Dr. Jeffrey Halstead, DMD. Dr. Jeffrey Halstead has been Canada's hometown dentist for more than 35 years, offering routine dental care as well as cosmetic dentistry, implants, and dentures by their highly trained and experienced staff. You can visit them online, at CanadaDentistry.com, or find them on Facebook and Instagram. And Cafe 19, breakfast, lunch, pastries, celebratory cakes, pies, and catering, guaranteed fresh and always local at Cafe 19 in Saga Falls. Also offering an assortment of beverages, including tea, coffee, and espresso drinks. Check out their full menu and weekly specials at xixcafe.com. All right, Nick, so it was a week of, to me, high highs for football, but also low lows, obviously. And maybe not anything exact game result-wise, but just the general kind of vibes from the weekend. We'll obviously jump into all those here, but, kind of began with a hectic Thursday night game last week, Minnesota-Philly, and high-scoring affair. Was that the high? That might have been the highest scoring, at least going into the weekend at that point. And that would have been eclipsed by, I believe, my Commanders and Broncos game, if memory serves me correct. But
very exciting game.
Yeah, but, kicked off the week kind of on a high note. And to be fair, kind of stayed that way even through the 1 o'clock games. I mean, the Bills, we'll touch on them even more here maybe in a second. But, the Bills had a really big bounce-back victory. We're kind of wondering here across different conversations, right, about what to expect for them going into that game. And they handled business and then some. And then kind of the 4 o'clock window, in my mind, is where it kind of starts getting sideways a little bit. Saquon Barkley goes down. Looks like he's going to miss a couple weeks here at least.
You didn't hear he might play. He's heels fast.
Oh, well, that's news to me. I thought I saw a couple weeks. I'm very confused. But, and then obviously the Nick Chubb injury. Just football can be that way sometimes, right? But it was high highs and low lows of week 2, it seemed like.
Yeah. Where's the graphic, by the way, today?
I'm messing around with some stuff here, so don't worry.
All right. We're trying something new.
It's called a lower third.
Yeah, almost 200 episodes where we're at. Got to try something new. But, yeah, the whole Saquon thing, Brian Dable came out yesterday and said he heals fast. I'm not ruling him out. Ruling him out for Thursday. I mean, that's just all strategy, but come on, the Niners know he's not playing. So that was unfortunate. I think really unfortunate to see Nick Chubb go down on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes the whole running back debate again. It's like, this proves why you shouldn't overpay for a running back, because they do get hurt all the time. And
I mean, is that any different, though? Not to be devil's advocate, but is that any different than especially certain wide receivers? I mean, Odell didn't even suit up this week.
yeah, Odell is he is never going to be the same player ever again, it seems. Just doesn't seem to be working wherever he goes now. But yeah, it's just, sure, these guys want to get paid before this happens, because how many times we see people use, how many running backs we see get injured. Even last year we thought, Derrick Henry can never get hurt. Even he got hurt last year. So it's like it almost seems like every star running back in this league has had a significant amount of time being out with an injury. But
I mean, Derrick Henry really hasn't, I guess, right?
last year he was out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But not like, these guys are out for the season, some of them. But, yeah, it's just unfortunate to see, especially Nick Chubb looked really bad.
Yeah.
Like, he could be out. Definitely this year, obviously, but he could be out for, if not, definitely a part of next year and maybe the whole season next year. They don't know if he's even going to play again. So,
yeah, I mean that's his reconstructed knee in the first place from a not similar play at Georgia, but a similar injury that happened at Georgia, and I mean it just sucks. I mean he's kind of one of the good guys of the league too, as well. I mean the players love him, obviously teammates love him, and it certainly changes the trajectory, I'd say, of the Brown season. But and I saw again more on the Saquon one than Chubb, right? But all of a sudden the grass debate got brought up again this week because of these injuries. I'm like, just stop. Like, especially like if you're gonna let's look at the Saquon one specifically here, right? More or less he's dealing with a sprained ankle, right? To what degree? Clearly we don't exactly know if we have different people saying different things, more or less, right? But like, we can me and you could get done with this podcast today and get up and start walking out, and we both are likely just as much as sprained ankles on this hardwood than grass. It's all about how you step, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. And, again, like, go back to, like, the Rodgers thing week one. Like, that wasn't a turf issue. It was the way he came down issue, right? And the pressure that he felt coming down. It wasn't grass. It wasn't, the artificial turf, whatever it's technically called at this point with the next version of it, right? AstroTurf concrete. It doesn't matter, right? It's the way you come down on it at the end of the day for the most part. Obviously, the Chubb one's different, right? I mean, that was a tackle that went in on his knee and everything, and just ends up being, frankly, at least the early season candidate for worst injury of the year so far, just in terms of the visual element of it. And then, honestly, the hearing element of it, too. I mean, the way he's not a vocal guy, but the way he was kind of screaming in agony was just brutal. I don't know if you were near a TV and able to hear it when it was going on, but it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, just really all I can say is it's just unfortunate. But on the game side of things, the Bills definitely was a little concerned going down 7-0 really quick after a tough loss in week one, but they bounced back pretty nicely against a Raiders team. They should be an undefeated Raiders team. Yeah, I mean, the NFC East is 7-1 to start. What are your thoughts on that?
They all slept on us, Nick. Our beloved teams in the NFC East. So, yeah, I mean, and
Those 7 wins are against the Cardinals,
right? But you play who you have to play, and the Giants kind of fought through that adversity a little bit. They're obviously going to halftime down 28-0. It's not great.
Yeah, a 16-0 start
to
the season after 3 halves. That's as worse as you can get to start a season. And for them to be 1-1 after week 2 is a great accomplishment.
Yeah, it says a lot, I think, about kind of the team as a whole, resilience-wise. But they got to I mean, not to bang the drum from week one on them, but they got to figure out something for that line. I mean, it kind of made me mad seeing the amount of people who were just like, oh, Daniel Jones needs to figure out. Like, it's not a Daniel Jones, like, much at all here. Like, you can only do so much when the pocket's just collapsing around you every single snap.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want him to do? Like, eventually, you're going to just have to try and figure something out and whether it's launch it or try and something, right? I don't know. You mentioned the Bills, right, a little bit. Bounce back over the Raiders. And I get it to a degree. I think that's still a Raiders team that's a little bit better than we probably will be giving them credit for all year for the most part. But, you know, against a defense that we know for sure is not good by any means. The Bills offensively and obviously defensively too, right? But as a whole, the team just went out there and frankly shut a lot of us up and just went out there and played the way that they expect to play all year. And it was a smash-mouth game. I mean, James Cook, to me, appears to be that running back. And I might have to eat my words a little bit on them and what I've been saying about how they need to find a running back. They need to find somebody who they can hone in on as a number one, but they're kind of allowing James Cook to hone in on that number one thing. And I know he didn't get a touchdown this week, but, 123 yards on 17 carries, like that's nothing to sniff at. That's pretty good. And Josh Allen looked like first half Josh Allen last year. Just went out there and balled. And he didn't make too many mistakes. He had one that I think ended up getting called back for like DPI anyway and everything like that. But, in the grand scheme of it, just the Bills had what they needed to do and probably then some for a week 2 game.
Yeah, I mean, we always knew Josh Allen wasn't a perfect quarterback. He always makes that one mistake per game, it seems like. Eli Manning used to do that a lot.
Is Eli elite?
I think so. It should be a Hall of Famer. First ballot.
Wow.
100%. I was happy for Washington to get that win over the Broncos. The 0-2 Broncos now. 0-2 at home, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not how Sean Payton envisioned, but it might be how he envisioned. Because he was coming out with these excuses before the season, and now he can use them.
Is that any different, though, than what he was doing as, like, the Saints head coach? Like, now that I'm thinking back on it. You know what I mean? Like, is that any different?
Is Russell Wilson over the hill? Like, is he done?
I don't know about over the hill. He's probably regressed to where he'll be the rest of his career, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just. I mean, are we really surprised he couldn't get a 2-point conversion at the end there at the 2-yard line?
Here's the question: is Russell Wilson the actual system quarterback?
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's a good question.
I think it's fair.
He was in a great system with Seattle.
Yep.
But are we really surprised he didn't get that 2-yard, 2-point conversion at the end there?
Should have ran it.
Should have ran it with Marshawn, yeah. I think that's a storyline that a lot of people aren't talking. Like, during the offseason, it was mostly Cowboys, Jets, and then Sean Payton and the Broncos. Now, with the season starting, Rodgers gone, the Jets talk's gone. Cowboys are obviously still there. But why has the Broncos talk been kind of like they're 0-2? Why? I mean, and then, of course, there's always the Bills were struggling, and then you got the Bengals 0-2 as well.
Yeah.
It's like, I was talking to my cousin Jack, who's a Bills fan, big Bills fan. He didn't get the hate towards the Bills. Like, why were the Bills getting so much hate at 0-1 when the Bengals were just the same thing? They played an even worse game in Week 1. It's just,
I don't know about an even worse team. I mean, the Browns, I think, are going to end up, in theory, better than the Jets.
I was talking about just the way they played.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but not team-wise, but just the Bengals looked awful that first week.
I mean, I wouldn't say they looked great anyway in Week 2 or Baltimore. That's actually something that, to be fair, we were probably in the minority discussing on last week, because that neither of those two teams actually looked good. And like I said, I wasn't wowed by either of them this past weekend. And now it comes out. I saw today that Burrow's talking about how his calf is sore still and everything. Like, yeah, like you shouldn't probably have been playing Week 1.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this Bengals team.
You better be careful.
Yeah.
Calf goes to the Achilles, and that's what Rodgers had. You don't want to affect that calf that goes to the Achilles, and then all of a sudden he's out for a significant amount of time. And it doesn't matter what age you are, it's impossible. It's very hard to come back from an Achilles injury.
I mean, we talked about it last week a little bit. You know, how even though it's a different sport, like, you know, basketball players are never the same.
I know they're 0-2 with it, but they might want to sit Burrow out for a little bit so he can get 100% here.
Yeah, I mean, they play the Rams on Monday night. So you kind of have an extra
Another doubleheader
day
this
of
week.
sort.
What are you
Yeah.
I wish they weren't like at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that's my main issue with it. It's the fact that they're at the same time, more or less.
Yeah, an hour difference, but you're
Yeah.
still getting them at the same time.
Yeah.
Why can't you put one at like 6 and one at 9?
Right.
Or, I mean, they want to do
Well,
it.
it's the West Coast issue element of it, right? It's like, that's why I thought if you're going to do it, just do an East Coast game at 7, do a West Coast game at 10 Eastern, 7 on the West. I mean, I mean, we were doing a little bit of bouncing back and forth, but like I was definitely more honed in on Cleveland Pittsburgh personally. I mean, that was also in theory the better game. So
Yeah, Saints, Panthers, unless you got fantasy players, does not intrigue most.
no. I mean, Panthers fans are leaving the game with like 5 minutes left too, and they were still technically in it at that point. Like,
Yeah.
even the fans didn't want to be there. Like, all right, we out. So I don't know. What other stuff from week 2 kind of stood out to you? I thought, for me personally, kind of looking at it, I'm a bit questioning and confused on another couple 0-2 teams.
The Jaguars look terrible. They're not 0-2, but
Well, I was going to say the Chargers and the Vikings. The Vikings to a lesser degree because
really, the Chargers lost 2 Heartburgers.
but there are certain things in the game where it's like they shouldn't be kind of, I guess, allowing them back in at Tennessee. I mean, especially the Chargers end of things. And what's funny is the Chargers and Vikings play this week, but
They play each other.
yeah. But those are 2 teams that stick out to me too. Like we were just talking about, like Cincinnati, right? But like, and they're going to get more of the headlines in that sense. But like, the Chargers and the Vikings don't look great either right now, to be honest.
And it's I'm a big fantasy guy. Look at the numbers. Herbert and Kirk Cousins are actually some of the best fantasy quarterbacks right now too.
Mm-hmm.
They're both, believe in the top 5.
Yeah.
And another guy who's number 1 in fantasy right now, in standard leagues, of course, is Daniel Jones. And what are emotions, not to go back on the Giants game, but what are emotions I went through that day. I went from wanting to drop Daniel Jones, wanted to tank for Caleb Williams because we're going to lose to the Cardinals, who is one of the teams fighting out for it. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, this guy's the man. But going back to the Chargers and the Vikings, Chargers have lost 2 Heartburgers, but there's no secret that the Chargers' defense is still terrible. The Vikings, even though he's done great fantasy, still a big question mark is Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins, we know we're going to get out of Kirk Cousins. He's an average quarterback. He's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Hopefully someday he can win a playoff game. But who they lost to the Eagles and they lost to who week 1?
Why am I drawing a blank here? That's a good question. I'm drawing a blank. I'll look it up.
I think they've had a tough schedule to start, if you count the Eagles, obviously. I mean, it all comes down to schedules. I mean, very could be misleading on these records. Not to throw your Washington team under the bus. I mean, they've played Denver and Arizona. I don't think either.
The Buccaneers, week 1.
I don't know what to think.
4-2-0.
I think the Buccaneers are all right. I think Baker Mayfield's better than what people think he is. Just like Kirk Cousins, he's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but he's a decent quarterback. And I still believe that's a weak division, even though the Saints' defenses look good and the Saints are 2-0. I still think that's the Buccaneers' division to lose. Even though Falcons are
Somebody looking like it though, right? I mean, the Falcons aren't.
I mean, that division's 6-2.
Yeah, but the Falcons didn't do anything for me again this week, to be honest. Like,
I'm not buying the Falcons.
no.
Not at all. But I still think they'll be one of the worst teams in the NFC. They just won't be worse than Carolina. Carolina's going to be bad.
That's pretty apparent. I did have some expectation on Carolina,
Really?
but
Be kind of disappointing. So
well, I'm not saying like playoff contending, right? But like Frank Reich's your head coach. You have a really under-the-radar defense, to be honest, and certain pieces on offense that, like,
Yeah, they brought in some names.
that, like, rookie-wise, like, Bryce Young should be able to be compatible with, right? But nothing's really clicked through 2 weeks. And that's the thing, right? We're in week 2. We're going to be, obviously, in a couple minutes talking about week 3 and doing our predictions. But, like, after we get through this week, this is where you can build, like, the pattern stuff. You know, first couple weeks, week 1 especially, right? A little bit of a toss-up, but you get to week 2, that's where you do, like, building upon week 1. And then after week 3, that's where the patterns you can tell. And so that's why I'm more intrigued about, like, say, the Panthers with week 3 is, like, is that just the way they're going to be? And, like, I think a lot of people probably were more low on them than me, obviously.
I got a question for you. Is Frank Reich a good coach?
I mean, I think he is. I think he's good. I don't know about being great, but I think he's a good coach. I mean, I think
lost a lot lately.
I think a lot of the stuff that happened, like in Indy last year, like that's not on him. Like, that's just even look at it right now. Even that's just like
Indy's still a mess.
I don't know about like a poorly constructed roster, but like there's just a lot of dysfunction going on, and so like, I don't know how much of it was actually on him.
Anthony Richardson's looked good though, until he got a concussion.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine. Like he's gonna have to learn to get down, but like he's good. I'd like to see him pass the ball a little bit more, but that'll come with time, in theory, right? I mean, it's either that or he'll obviously if he's concussed, he's gonna learn the hard way right off the bat, pretty much. So I don't know about him. The jury's still out on him for me. I wasn't super high on him in college, but he's been the best of the rookie QBs so far, to be fair. I mean, he got the Colts at a spot where once he went down, they didn't really have to worry too much about Houston coming back on him.
Yeah.
So,
real quick,
I don't know.
Thoughts on the Jaguars losing?
Yeah,
playing terrible, really.
They had the Chiefs. I mean, I know you.
Did it look great again?
I'm about to say I know you want to make this more about the Jaguars, but like, did the Chiefs do anything to really impress you? Not really. I mean. That frankly came down to a couple guys, wide receivers, dropping passes, and, we're talking, I know ticky-tack stuff maybe to a degree, but, like, they didn't look good, but I don't think the Chiefs looked exactly good either.
And I knew the Lions, even though they could have won, were going to have a hangover. They got a hangover against the Seahawks.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, defensively I'd say more so than on offense, but, yeah, that'll happen. So, all right, let's. You want to do picks right now?
Yeah, how'd we do last week?
So, Nick, you won the week again. You went 14-2.
Wow.
Last week, bringing your year record to 22-10.
22-10
already. Yep. Myself, I went 9-7 last week, but that only gets me up to 500. So, what are you going to do?
Big
all right.
week.
Big week this week indeed.
6 games back.
Yep. All right, so we have Thursday Night Football this week. The Giants, your G-Men, Nick, they're at the 49ers. Obviously, as a reminder, we pick on the heads up, not on the spread. I just provide the spread as a courtesy of sort. The 49ers, 10-point favorites at home.
I like to think the Giants could cover. I like to think that. I'm trying to win this game, so I'm going to go Niners.
Okay. I am going with the Niners as well. Sorry to do that to you, but
no, it's all right. It's going to be a tough one without Saquon.
Yeah. First of the Sunday games, 1 p.m., Indianapolis at Baltimore. Baltimore an 8-point favorite at home. I'm going Baltimore here, but part of me, I don't think Indy's going to win outright anyway. But, like, if Richardson's healthy, like, I think this is a closer game than
Yeah, I could see that. Honestly, if he plays, I can see the upset, potentially. It is at Baltimore, though. Enjoy this, because next week I think the London games start.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Baltimore in this game, but it's going to be close.
Yeah.
Even Minshew quarterback, and I still think it
I think he can keep it close as well, but I think it's one of those just like if push comes to shove type things. I got to go for sure Baltimore no matter what.
Oh, Baltimore, yeah.
Tennessee at Cleveland. Cleveland a 3-point favorite at home still without Nick Chubb.
Tennessee at Cleveland?
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that Deshaun Watson can bounce back this week. I'm going to go Cleveland.
I'm in Cleveland as well. Again, not like Tennessee's done anything to overwhelm me, but just think there's a X factor wise. I mean, I don't know how much Watson's actually better than Tannehill. I mean, Watson, if you take the past collective 8 games, regular season wise, he's a bottom third quarterback. But I mean, weapon wise, probably more stuff at least in Cleveland to be firing to. So
Yeah.
go there. All right, Atlanta at Detroit. Detroit, a 3.5-point home favorite. I'm going Detroit here.
Yeah, Detroit.
Yeah.
Atlanta's undefeated run's coming to an end.
Although, again, that's a game where that 3.5 it's a bigger number than I think I anticipated seeing initially.
Really?
Yeah. Frankly, to be honest.
It's at Detroit, though.
True. New Orleans is at Green Bay. Green Bay, a 2-point favorite at home.
New Orleans' defense is impressive. I'm going to go with the Saints in this game, New Orleans.
Oh, okay. So, through, what we got, 5 games so far, Nick? Me and you are picking all the same teams. I'm going New Orleans as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Kind of surprised Green Bay's favored.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's one of those things where, like, if we were to do this game in like a month and a half, I might swing it and go the opposite way. But yeah, it's still decent enough outside and stuff like that. I gotta go New Orleans. Houston at Jacksonville. Jacksonville 9.5-point favorite at home. Again, this might be a case of where spread wise, Houston actually might cover that, but in this outright situation, I gotta go Jacksonville.
I'm telling you right now, Houston's not winning a game this year.
Wow.
They're that bad. Jacksonville.
You think so?
Yeah, they're that bad.
Okay.
Their defense is pitiful.
All right.
And C.J. Stroud is an uphill climb.
Sure. Understandable.
You going Jaguars too?
I went to the wrong NDI camera, so there's that. There we go. I'm going Jacksonville too. I went to the wrong NDI camera. I knew that was going to happen eventually. Denver at Miami. Miami's a 6-point favorite.
Denver at Miami. Yep. I gotta go Miami.
Same.
Yeah, these are kind of easy picks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this is an interesting week,
Yeah.
to be honest. We're still in the 1 p.m. window. Chargers at the Vikings. The Vikings a 1-point favorite at home.
Who do you like?
I'm on Vikings, and I'm not convinced of my pick, but home field, I gotta go Vikings, I think.
If Eckler was playing, I would think about it. But at home, I'm going Vikings. I have to.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one. I don't know if I'll necessarily stray on this one, but it'll be interesting your thoughts on this one. New England at the Jets. The Jets are a 2.5-point dog at home.
Who do you like?
I'm going New England. You're going New England too, aren't you?
I'm going New England too.
Yeah.
The Jets? Nah.
Mac Jones, to me, I don't think has been playing terribly. I understand maybe some of the hate, but
They've had some tough games too.
Yeah.
Eagles and Dolphins to start.
Yeah.
He hasn't been playing that bad.
Right.
And the Jets had just Zach Wilson and just looked awful.
Yeah.
Dallas defense tough though.
Buffalo at Washington. Washington a 6.5-point favorite, or dog at home rather. They are not a favorite.
I'm going Bills.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Have to.
Yeah.
Golly,
how many more to go?
We're what? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're about 2/3 of the way done here. We got the first of the 4:00 window games. 4:05 Carolina at Seattle. Seattle's a 6-point favorite at home, and I will follow that trend by taking Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah. We are really leaning into this possibly being a very lame week of picks. First of the 4:25 games, Dallas at Arizona. Arizona, 12-point dog at home.
I gotta take Dallas.
Yeah.
Jesus, this week is tough. I mean,
Yeah, there's not much variant this week. I'm going Dallas as
a
well.
lot of mismatches.
Yeah.
This is bad.
Chicago at Kansas City. Kansas City, 12.5-point favorites at home.
Oh, I'm taking the Chiefs.
Same. There's just no option. I apologize to people here this week, but like it's just one of those weeks. Like I don't know what to tell people.
No, but the picks are not done.
That's true. We got 3 more games to pick from here. The Sunday night game, Pittsburgh at Vegas. Vegas a 3-point favorite at home.
Where you going?
I'm going Vegas.
Why?
Oh,
I'm going to
alright.
go with the Steelers.
You are going with the Steelers.
And here's why. You're going to tell me why in a second, but here is
You're
why.
going first.
I think Kenny Pickett and George Pickens is going to find that connection. They started finding it a little bit on Monday night. Defense really stepped up for that win against the Browns. But Vegas, that defense, like you mentioned earlier, not very good. They seem to lose these games a lot. I'm going Steelers. Mike Tomlin does not go under 500, and he's going to get to over 500 after week 3. I'm going Steelers.
Minka might be out. Leaves a nice little secondary gap available. Jimmy G, he's not bad. I frankly think this is a battle of two very average teams this week. And I'm gonna go with Vegas. I think they're a little bit better in the grand scheme of it. Definitely going to be a case of offense versus defense on that one end, but that's about it. Because frankly, I'll be intrigued to see how Pittsburgh actually approaches this game.
Just a minute.
You know?
You think Josh McDaniels is going to beat Mike Tomlin?
No. No. First of the Monday night games, 7:15 kickoff. Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. Philadelphia, a 5-point favorite on the road.
Going Eagles.
Same. And then our final game, Monday night at 8:15, the Rams at the Bengals. The Bengals, 1-point favorite at home. I'm going Bengals here.
I'm going Rams.
Are you really?
Yeah. I think the Rams impressed me. That Puka Nakua is a target animal.
Calm down, Matt.
I feel like I have to play Puka. And I think they can beat the Bengals and send the Bengals to an 0-3 start with Matthew Stafford and Puka Nakua.
All right.
So Rams and Steelers.
We really went outside the box this week everywhere else. But, hey, some weeks are like that. All right,
Hey,
let's... Oh,
At
go
least
ahead.
I won't lose my first place position. The closest you can get is 4 games back.
Yep, it's true. All right, let's talk some college football here before we get out. Was a quiet-ish week in the grand scheme of things.
It's going to be exciting, though.
Yeah, this week will be exciting. We'll get to that, though, in a minute. But, I mean, you had Tennessee losing on the road to Florida, which I'm so confused about both those teams now at this point. I don't know what to make of them. Colorado, I'll phrase it like this. Colorado State lost that game to Colorado. And outside of that, I mean, Syracuse is the only team in the country with a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense. So, I don't know. You guys tell me.
Top 5 team.
Top 5 team. But, yeah, I mean, like you said, like I said, Nick, and like you agreed, just a overall quietish week this past week of college football. Not a ton of, I'd say, outright craziness to the perceived eye. I mean,
Interesting scores, though.
yeah, I mean, like Florida State and BC was a lot closer than it should have been,
Georgia, South Carolina.
right?
USF and
Right.
Alabama.
Well, the Bama thing is interesting, and we'll find out. We'll actually find out where they stand this week. Bama plays at home against Ole Miss. It's 15 versus 13, and they still have Bama as a touchdown favorite in that game. And I don't know.
Lost to Lane Kiffin, though?
Huh?
Has he ever lost to Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban?
Yes,
He has.
technically, I believe yes, but it's one of those deals that the more I look at it, the more I feel freaking confident about my Notre Dame pick at the beginning of the year. The more I feel confident about my USC pick of the year. I'm telling you what. And it might be a degree of whatever, but like the Pac-12 all of a sudden has a legitimate shot of getting 2 teams into the playoffs. Like they really do. I don't think people realize just how, let alone Oregon. I know there's a lot of focus on Oregon, obviously,
Big week for them.
and to a lesser extent still like Utah, but like, look, Washington State and Oregon State are ranked, right? We know about USC. UCLA should be ranked, in my mind.
Chip Kelly still there?
Yep. But, like, Washington, who is top 10 ranking-wise, Washington's a legit team. Penix is really good.
They still got the Boise State coach?
No. He's one of the administrators in there. He had to retire for health reasons a few years
really?
ago. Yeah. But, like, Washington's good. Like,
They made the playoffs that one year.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different stuff to kind of look at and dissect. I mean, the backyard brawl, West Virginia looked the lesser of two bad teams in that game. Pitt's in trouble this year. I know Pitt was a dark horse team for a lot of people, at least like within the ACC. They don't look good. It's bad. And I do agree. One of the podcasts I listen to, I agree with the point they bring up. Like, I think Dracovic is he looks hurt. Like, I don't know if that, maybe he's just bad and that's just the way he looks, but he doesn't look like he's at ease out there, and that's pretty telling to me. I don't know. Also, the MAC looks like they might be barking at the American to take that, New Year's Six spot for the group of 5 schools. To me, Ohio's good, Toledo's good. Got a couple other teams floating around in there. UB, I think, will make their noise a little bit by the end of the year. Might be a big year for some of the MAC schools. That might be me also dropping a hint of what might be coming in my 5-game predictions.
Nice.
So. But yeah, let's focus to this week a little bit too, Nick. You mentioned some big games, and I do have one of them on here as my pick, and we'll talk about this game anyway right now, but your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, huge game this weekend against Ohio State. A very, in my mind, beatable Ohio State team, and a team that I'm not, frankly, high on anyway in Ohio State, but I am high on Sam Hartman and them boys out in South Bend.
Yeah, it's a big game, but I always feel like Notre Dame, when they play in these big home games, or even just in big games in general, lose. They tend to lose these games. I remember the one year was Florida State. They lost at the last play. It was like offensive pick or something. That was back in 2014. Mm-hmm. They lost the one year to Miami. And then Miami faded right after that win. And then last year to start the season, they lost to Ohio State in the opener. They lost to Texas in the opener, and was 2016. So they always seem to lose these games. The only one they ever won was the one Trevor Lawrence didn't play against Clemson. Was that like 3 years ago or something like that?
3 or 4, yeah.
That was like the only one. And then they ended up losing to Clemson, and somehow they made the ACC championship game.
Oh, no, that was the COVID year. Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the ACC championship game that year. So, I don't know.
You're welcome.
The history, being winless in BCS bowls, the history has me thinking they're going to lose this game. But I just feel like, it is a beatable Ohio State team.
Nick, the BCS can't hurt you anymore. It doesn't exist anymore.
Good. Sam Hartman is, I think, a legit quarterback. He's proven that. Marcus Freeman, this would be his biggest win of his career against his old team. It's old school, Ohio State.
Right.
It'd be a great win. Something Brian Kelly has not done at LSU yet.
Okay, that's a bit of a side swipe. I wouldn't say that.
What has he won? He's been there, 2 years?
No, this is his second year.
Second year.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just seems like he hasn't done much there.
You're brutal.
I think he's a little overrated.
Well, speaking of overrated, Nick.
Clemson?
Well, I was going to talk about my picks here, but yeah, I mean, Clemson,
Florida State should be going.
Is it? I don't know. That game, I don't have it on here. That game has a 2.5 point line favoring Florida State.
Do you have Colorado, Oregon on there?
I do not. Did not have the gusto to do that picks. But you mentioned Nick being overrated. Since I got called out in the comments in week 1, even though it's week 2, but week 1, a couple of people in the TikTok comments talked about, your locks, they missed. It happens from time to time. Guess who is 8-2 since then? After another 4-1 week.
Ew.
Your boy. So, we begin in the MAC, where Ohio is a 13-point favorite on the road at Bowling Green. I'm taking Ohio. Ohio is a wagon. Get on the Bobcat train. My second game that I'm picking is Ohio State at Notre Dame. I'm taking Notre Dame, getting the 3 points. Home dog, I think they're going to win outright anyway. So that's where I'm going there. UNC on the road at Pitt. I'm laying the 7.5 with UNC. Pitt's just bad. I can't believe it's really more or less only a touchdown game there.
Yeah. Second
week in a row, I'm going to be riding with James Madison. James Madison, on the road again this week, but 6.5-point favorites at Utah State. And for the first time this year, we're chasing all night long. New Mexico State at Hawaii. I'm taking Hawaii at home, -2.5.
What time does that game start?
Technically midnight, even though it's later. But
It starts at
Yeah.
midnight.
midnight game. So those are my 5 picks. We're chasing Hawaii this week. I'm so happy.
I like them, man. I'm rooting for you. I just don't. I won't believe the Notre Dame win until it happens. That's all I'll say.
That's fair. It's fair and respectable. All right, so that'll take care of Fresh Takes in for this week. I hope everybody's excited because we're just about the halfway point of Big Brother. Well, I think technically we're over the halfway point of Big Brother this season, but we aren't quite at the true halfway point because next week we'll talk about how we feel midway through the season.
Yeah.
Because we're coming up on a very big week. I'm not going to say why because maybe some people don't know. I don't want to do the spoiler thing, but it's a big week in the Big Brother house this week. Alluding to something here. Big week. So we'll discuss how we've been feeling about the season next week a little bit in addition to our football stuff. So, Nick, who are you shouting out today?
I don't really have one planned.
Oh, wow.
So many birthdays coming out, but I'll shout out my dad, Daryl Felice.
Shout out.
We went to the horse track the other day.
Saw that.
Yeah.
How'd you do?
I picked Secretariat to win,
Oh.
and Barbaro, and Big Brown.
Nick, I don't know how to tell you this. They're all dead.
They were great horses. American Pharoah still alive?
I don't know. I would imagine, yeah.
Justify. Anyway, yeah, shout out my dad.
Biscuit.
Always a good time going to Finger Lakes, watching the horses.
There you go. All right, everybody. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. I can like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. We're on a couple major podcasting platforms. Make sure you listen and go there. Let us know how we're doing.
You seem so relaxed.
Thank you. I appreciate. I am. I kind of do now that I'm looking up at that screen. How about that? Anyway, so we'll be back next Wednesday. Recap the week of football and everything like that. So until then, enjoy the weekend, everybody. We'll see everybody next week.